Please, allow me to show you something.
John Benton works at the Dream Center. He's the director of Cradle-to-Career Continuum. I believe that's his current title. John also helps us with our State of E report. There's some information about that on your table. And he is going to be sharing with us just about human dignity. And I've had a chance to work with John, and John is an awesome guy. He's going to be bringing us a lot of good stuff to think about. So will you guys welcome John Benton?
Well, thank you all and welcome. Thank you for Evansville and the team for having me. This is just a really special moment to be able to share something that's very near and dear to my heart, something that makes me get up in the morning, something that I think about when I go to bed at night, something that I can't stop thinking about. It's a really important idea. So I'm very excited, as you may be able to tell. As I look out, I'm also very touched by the fact that I just see so many people who have been vital to my dignity in the way that I have grown as a person. And so I'm just excited to be here tonight. So I want to begin with a story. I want to begin with a story about a woman that I've gotten to see evolve over my work at the Dream Center. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the Dream Center, but I want to talk about this woman because it encapsulates this notion of human dignity in a really important way. Her name's Sarah. And if you're like me, you may wonder these kinds of things. I got Sarah's permission to share this story. Sarah is the mom to 4 boys. They are the most energetic boys I've ever met. They have so much power, so much resolve. They will not be stopped. Sarah's husband, he is a fighter, and he is someone who doesn't give up on his family. And Sarah is someone who, she builds walls, and she builds bridges, and she builds a family. And I can't say enough about this family. But when I first met Sarah, she had literally no interest in me, literally no interest in a Dream Center, no interest in people from what I could discern. And so whenever I would come to her house and knock on her door and try to build a connection, it was always through the crack of the door. What do you want? Well, Sarah, my name's John. I'm with the Dream Center, yada, yada. And took me months to get her to even respond to me. And I had this most unusual conversation with her that was totally unlike her one day. She gives me a call, and she's frantic. And she says, John, I had the most terrible call with the school. I'm like, okay. Surprised you're telling me about this, Sarah. What's going on? Well, my boys just keep getting sick. I'm like, okay. Do you need me to do something about that? She said, I don't know why they keep getting sick. I've taken them to the doctor and so on and so forth. She said, can you just come here and talk to me about what we can do to get my boys to stop being sick all the time? Well, sure. I'm not a medical professional. We can figure this out, I suppose. So I go over, and I have this really profound moment with her and I actually had an intern with me at the time, and I was just struck by crossing through this threshold of someone who'd never allowed me in their house before, and sat and listened to what was going on, and I quickly discerned, okay, I've had enough go around on this now to know that maybe the house has a condition that's causing the boys to get sick. So I say, Sarah, I know you've got some uncomfortability with people in your space. Can I maybe see the boys' room? She lets me go to the room, and we go up there, and not exaggerating when I say I was just shocked. Mold everywhere. Mold on the ceiling, mold on the walls, mold in the crown molding. It was more than I was ready for. I said, okay, Sarah, I've never seen anything to this extent before, and usually mold can have some health issues. And so we get talking, and she says, well, the landlord painted over it before we moved in, and then it came back over the summer months. I'm like, okay. And we just keep chatting, and then something else happens. I start smelling something that is overwhelming. And I was like, do I address it? And so I did. I said, Sarah, we're already talking about the mold. I'm smelling something, and I'm wondering if you could tell me if you smell it too. And she said, yeah, it's the bucket. I'm like, oh, the bucket. And so she decided she'd show me where the bucket was. So we go down to her basement. And I have never experienced anything like this in my life. It was a overwhelming stench. I see a bucket on a plank of wood, and I see seeping into it excrement and urine from a pipe that's cracking in her home. And I'm just, okay, yeah, the house is making the kids sick. So we go upstairs. I'm like, okay, I've seen the bucket. Let's go upstairs and talk about all this. And we sit and chat, and I hear this story about a family who, high school sweethearts, mom and dad, who met 14 years of age in a homeless shelter, and who had mutual experience of living in chronic homelessness most of their life, who they're in their young, early 20s, and they're just now getting a roof over their head because dad's just now getting a job that can pay for something like that. And they're so excited about this new home. They're also so mad about this new home, and they're also mad about the kids. There's just too many emotions to figure out what's going on at the same time. And so I'm a trained social worker, and I don't know if this was the right question to ask. Maybe I shouldn't have asked it, but I didn't know what emotion was coming forward. And I said, you know, Sarah, I don't know what you think about this, but I have to ask, do you feel like you deserve this situation? And she paused, and she said, I don't think I deserve better. And I want to start there tonight. I've been brought here to process a really big idea, human flourishing, human dignity. When we get this idea right, the world becomes more beautiful, becomes more human. When we get this idea wrong, the world becomes insidious. The world becomes dangerous for people. The world became dangerous for Sarah and her family because I think we got this wrong somewhere. This whole story made me think a lot about this analogy we use a lot in our work, the Dream Center. We talk a lot about in our case management work. Imagine if you've got a gardener working in a greenhouse, and he's got a flower here, both in pots. He's got one he's nurturing, and he's watering, and he's clipping away what needs to die, and he's putting it into a bigger pot. And then he takes the other one, he goes outside with a spade, plops it in the ground, and walks away. Neither flower is better, but one is destined to succeed, and one is destined to fail. And it has literally nothing to do with the condition of the flower, everything to do with the circumstances of the flower. Imagine in Evansville, where we didn't judge people on their circumstances, but we judged the circumstances of people based on their own value. Imagine in Evansville, where we saw Sarah as someone who had infinite worth, dignity, and value, and we saw her circumstance and we said, this is not right. This is not okay. We don't see someone who has lived a chronic life of despair say, yeah, this is probably good enough for her. In fact, Sarah did that to herself. She internalized this whole story of our community in such a way that she answered the question, what are you worth? And she answered it from the basis of her circumstances. And Sarah went so far as to believe that that's what she deserved. And that's not right, because she has infinite worth and value. Everyone has infinite worth and value. What if her landlord were to see the circumstance that he has immediate control over, a house? And what if he said, I will not give someone this circumstance without dignifying and valuing the human person? What if the people who came in and painted over the mold said, I will not do this work if it means not dignifying a human person? What if the people along the way in Sarah's life would have not seen her through her circumstances? What if they would have actually taken the time to see her circumstances, and help take her out of the hole in the ground and put her into a pot in the greenhouse where she could grow and she could thrive? What if you, in your life, not as a social worker, not as a case manager, not as a nonprofit leader or someone who works in a church or does world-changing things, but what if you, in your life, what if you were to judge the circumstances of your neighbors in such a way that you were valuing and dignifying all persons? Thank you so much.